Hello S3 biologists, it's Mrs. Dagger here, and this is the second topic of S3, stem cells and specialisation. Okay, here's a starter for you. If you were in the class normally, you'd be doing this. So we know quite a bit about animal cells and plant cells now. We're going to think more just about animal cells. The diagrams there show two different animal cells. They look different from each other, but they still have the same parts, the same organelles that you were learning about in the last lessons. So the question is, can you label them? Okay, so we've got A, B, C, D, E, and the names of the parts in this group of cells will be the same as this cell. So you could pause the video and have a little scribble down in your jotter, A to E, and what you think the parts of those cells are. I'm just going to reveal them now. So A on this is the same part as A on this, and hopefully you can give yourself a tick, you've got it right, it is the nucleus. B is just pointing to the pink bit in here, just a kind of browny bit in there, which is the cytoplasm. C is pointing to the outside line of the cell, and the same on this one, which is the cell membrane. D is these little yellow things. They're yellow on this one too. The mitochondria. And E is these little red dots. There are little red dots in that cell too. The ribosome. There's lots of those. Okay, so that's a little bit of revision of the last topic. Right, so this topic we are learning about stem cells and specialised cells, so cells that have got a special job to do. So after you've gone through this video, you should know where are stem cells found, 3 features of stem cells, the function of stem cells. You should be able to give 3 examples of specialised cells and describe how their structure suits their function, and state the hierarchy of cells. Now obviously you don't know what a lot of this stuff is, but hopefully you will by the end of the video. Right, I would like you to think about babies and how babies are made. So have a little, maybe make a little mind map, a little scribble in your jotter of how do you think that baby is made. Okay, try and keep it scientific. You can pause the video if you want, have a think, have a write down. And I'm going to move on now after you've paused it. Right, so we know that babies are made, human babies are made by sexual reproduction. You did a little bit about that in S2, so you'll be experts. You should know that 2 different types of cells are required for sexual reproduction in animals. We're going to think about humans. What are they? I know you know. You can shout at the screen just now. We need a sperm cell and we need an egg cell. Okay. Now, these are both animal cells. They just look different because they do different jobs. Oops. So, in order to make a baby, we need a sperm cell and an egg cell, and they need to come together, which is what this picture here is showing. And once that's happened, what forms is called an embryo, this thing down here. And this would normally be happening in the oviduct inside a female's body. And again, you should know that from S2. And give it a little bit of time, that embryo will turn into what looks like a little alien here, the fetus, and that fetus will grow into what we know a baby looks like. It is incredible. This is just showing that one egg cell, if it got fertilized by sperm, so if this bit happened, okay, and the sperms managed to go in, and the nucleus of the sperm and the nucleus of the egg have joined together, then that one egg cell will turn into 2. And that each one of those will turn into 2, so we would end up with 4. And each one of those would turn into 2, so we'd end up with 8. Then we'd get 16. So the numbers are doubling every time, 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. And that would keep happening. And then it comes to the point where you can't really see the individual cells because there's too many of them. So this bit here is what's happening between this bit and this bit, and continues to happen for a while until we end up with this funny looking fetus. Right, so the question is then, how can you make one of these from this? Okay, how can this embryo turn into this baby? So I want you to pause the video, have a think, and write down any ideas. It doesn't matter if your ideas are a load of rubbish, just think. Right. So this embryo here is made of cells, we know that. These cells must be capable, they must be able to turn into all the different cells that are needed to make what we call a full-term baby, a baby that's born after 9 months growing in the uterus. So these cells here must be able to turn into all the different types of cells that you need to make a baby. So if we think of some obvious ones like skin cells, bone cells, muscle cells, blood cells, these cells here must be able to turn into those different types of cell. At the moment, these cells have got no special job. They've got no specialized function. And because of that, we call them unspecialized. Right? These cells here in this embryo are unspecialized because they don't have a particular job yet. And the name of these cells, we would describe them as being unspecialized, but the name of them is stem cells. These cells here, they're found in an embryo and they're called stem cells, or we could call them embryonic stem cells. And stem cells can turn into any type of cell with a particular function. So at the moment, these ones don't have any particular function, they don't have any particular job, they haven't become specialized, they are unspecialized. They can, though, turn into cells that are specialized. So if we think about what a specialized function might be, think back to the starter task, there were, if we just zoom back, boom, 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 we had muscle cells here, and we have a nerve cell. So they're 2 different types of cell that these stem cells might need to turn into. Right, so that's given you a couple of ideas. So I would like you to write the title, Cells with Specialised Functions. And there are lots of different types of cell that you might be able to think of that are in your body. I want you to write down 5, okay? So we need 5 types of cell found in a human. And for each cell, I want you to try and think of the job that that cell does. And you're going to put this information in a table. So you're going to have to think, well, how many columns does my table need to have? What will the column headings be? And make sure you use a ruler. If you haven't got a ruler, maybe try and use the edge of a jotter or something straight. If you're stuck, then feel free to use the internet, or if you've got any books in your house that might be able to help you. If you're still stuck, then there's some ideas on the next 2 slides. So if you're happy and you think, no, I know what I'm doing, pause it now and have a go. If you're not very sure, then keep going. Right, there's some ideas that might help you with different types of cell. So here we've got sperm and a brain. Hopefully you can maybe work out that that's a bit of skin. This, well, we've obviously got skin here, but what we're really interested in here is muscle. And this is a fingertip, but what we're interested in there is the blood. Okay, so if that's enough help, you can pause it now and get going if you need more help. Right, so this is just showing you That's what we would normally see. That's what we see muscle looks like, but muscle cells would look like that. That's how we see blood. But if we really look at blood cells, we can see that they look like that. Brain cells that you might find in the brain, skin cells that you might find in the skin. And this is obviously our close-up of one sperm cell. Okay, right, so if you're still stuck, there's your help for what the table should look like. If you've got this far without any help, then you're probably ready for your answers. So we've got the type of cell as one heading and the function or the job of the cell as the other. If you want to keep trying a little bit more on your own, then pause it now. If not, here are answers that are from the previous slides. You might have done this on your own and picked other cells, that's absolutely fine. Okay, but if you went with the cells that were on the previous slides, then we've got muscle cell. So the job of a muscle cell is to shorten and then relax, or contract and relax to help move parts of the body. The brain cell, or it might be called a nerve cell, or it might be called a neuron. It depends on if you used a what internet site you used or what book you've used. They send electrical messages around the body. The sperm cell, we know already, fuses or joins with the egg in sexual reproduction. Our red blood cell carries oxygen around the body, and skin cells, they help protect what's going on, what's all inside your body from the outside world. But if you've not got those answers because you picked different cells, that's fine. Okay, right, now we want to pick 3 of those cells that you've already spoken about and describe how their structure is suited to their function. Okay, how is the structure of those cells suited to the job that they do? The sperm is a nice easy one to do. You could maybe think about that first. What is it about the structure, the shape, the design of a sperm cell that makes it good at its job, makes it suited to its function? Okay, again, if you're confident, pause now. If not, then just keep watching. Okay, there's some ideas. I've said that the sperm cell is quite a nice, easy one to think of. Red blood cells are quite easy ones to think of. This is a very unusual human here because it's got sperm and eggs. Obviously, it's just a diagram to help show both. Okay, if you're still working, you want to try more on your own, then pause it. If you're waiting for the answers, they're coming now. Right, so you can just have a pause now and read those answers, see if the ones you've got match up. If you've used the internet, you might have slightly different explanations. That's okay. Right, so stem cells found in embryos can specialise into any of those types of cells that you've just spoken about. Right, so any of these cells here, any of these cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, red blood cells, skin cells, sperm cells, and any other cell that you might have come across, they all come from stem cells. They all come from the stem cells in an embryo. And stem cells are very clever, right? The stem cells, yes, they can turn into, that's pretended to be muscle cells, red blood cells, nerve cells. Not only can stem cells turn into these, they can also make more copies of themselves, and we call that self-renewal. So stem cells can really do 2 things. They can either specialise and turn into any type of cell needed by the body, or they can self-renew, and that just means make more of themselves. And there's a wee question there, where do we find these stem cells? And we know that we find these particular types of stem cells in embryos. The embryo that's made after the sperm and the egg have joined together. The nucleus of the sperm and the egg have joined together. Okay, Right, pause it and see if you can answer these questions in sentences. They must be in sentences. If they're not in sentences, your work will make absolutely no sense when you go back to revise. Right, so why do we need stem cells then? Do we only need them when we're an embryo? Do we only need stem cells to exist when we are growing at the very start inside the uterus? And there's some pictures to help you think what's going on in this. So this is obviously taking a long time. This is somebody's finger with a chunk taken out of the top of it. There's a bit of nail missing there. And you can see that over time, it's healed, it's got better. And obviously this image is representing a baby becoming a toddler, young child, older child, blah, blah, blah. So stem cells are needed for growing, for growth and repair. So we need stem cells even after we're born, because we still need to grow once we're born, and we still need to repair parts of our body that are worn out or were broken. So we don't just find stem cells in embryos. We also find stem cells in you and me right now. And the stem cells that are in you and me right now are called tissue stem cells. Okay, this bit in green, tissue stem cells. And we find them in lots of places. You can watch lots of little video clips, YouTube clips. You can read lots of stuff on the internet about stem cells, and it will tell you a whole list of places where you can find tissue stem cells. But it includes bone marrow, you might have heard of that, muscle and brain. And the main job of tissue stem cells is to maintain and repair the tissue in which they are found. So if it's stem cells found in muscle, then their job will be to try and make sure that any new muscle cells can be made. Or if it's tissue stem cells found in the brain, then their job is to look after repairing the brain. Tissue stem cells are therefore much more limited in the types of cell they can become. So they're not as good as embryonic stem cells. Right? They're good, but just not quite as amazing. Remember, embryonic stem cells can become absolutely any type of cell that makes up a human. Tissue stem cells can only become the type of cell in which, or near to where they're found. So here's an example. If we looked at tissue stem cells found in bone marrow, so these could be found in the bone marrow of you and me right now, then these stem cells could become red blood cells, or they could become white blood cells, of which there's quite a few. Don't you worry about these names. But that's all they could become. Right? This is just another diagram showing the same thing. The tissue stem cells found in this bone marrow, they could become red blood cells, they could become platelets, they could become white blood cells. But that's all. They could not become any other type of cell. We say that tissue stem cells are more limited. Right, another time to pause and answer 4, 5, and 6 in sentences in your jotter. Right, there's a couple of links here now. If I click on these and press play, I know that they won't work when you come to watch it back. So separately, I'm going to post a document that's got link 1 and link 2 in it. Okay, I'll give you instructions on where that is when I post your work. Right, so once a stem cell has specialised, or the fancy name for that, differentiated, it can perform a particular function. All right, we now know that. So we know that a stem cell might become a bone cell, or it might become a red blood cell, or it might become muscle cell, or it might become skin cell, or it might become nerve cell. And those cells have got particular functions, particular jobs, but they don't work alone. So specialised cells group together to form tissue. So here we've got stem cells will give rise to specialised cells, and lots of specialised cells will clump together. Lots of similar specialised cells will clump together and form what we call tissue. And you might have heard of that word tissue if you've maybe hurt your ankle or your knee or your elbow or your wrist or something, and the doctor might say you've not broken it, but you've got soft tissue damage. So that's the tissue they're talking about, not the type of tissue that you blow your nose with. Lots of tissues together make up an organ, and you've definitely heard of organs because you did that in AS1. And organs together make an organ system. And again, these two things you definitely have come across before in first year. Now that diagram there, that's showing the hierarchy of cells. How stem cells turn into specialised cells, lots of specialised cells form tissue, lots of similar tissue forms an organ, and then organs together, different organs together form an organ system. Okay, so I want you to think back to S1 then and think, well, can I remember any organs? Can I remember any organ systems? And you're basically rewriting this, but with a specific example. So have a wee think. If you can do it yourself, pause it. If not, then there's an example on the next slide. Well, there's not yet an example. There's some ideas of organ systems. So perhaps just by looking at those diagrams, you might have an idea, might remind you a little bit of some organ systems. If I go into the next one, these are slightly different diagrams just because you never know who's going to, how someone's going to draw a diagram in a test or an exam that you do. This time the names are underneath. So skeletal system, muscular system, digestive, respiratory, nervous, circulatory. So you're thinking, well, what organs are in those? Can that help me do this task? Okay, so you could write that down first, and then you're going to try and think of a specific example. But here is one. So we always start with stem cells, but then those stem cells could turn into nerve cells. So that's our example of a specialised cell like this here. And then these nerve cells, lots of nerve cells together would make nerve tissue, or sometimes it's called nervous tissue. Lots of nerve cells, nerve tissues together might make up the brain, which is an organ. And the brain is part of the nervous system. That's the organ system that is part of. So there's an example. So if you're stuck, you could write that example down and then think of another one yourself. If you're feeling quite confident, you could write down 2 of your own examples, or 3, or 4, or 5. Okay, so stem cells perform an essential function naturally in our body. Okay, they're naturally found, we now know, in embryos, and tissue stem cell is found even after you're born. And they do a phenomenal job just being left to themselves in our bodies. But scientists are finding ways of using stem cells to treat certain conditions. They can remove embryonic stem cells from an embryo and grow them in a lab. What if they could make them specialise into a cell type that is needed by a patient to treat a particular condition? Okay, so how would they do that? So we know that the sperm and the egg normally come together. If fertilization happens, an embryo develops. What if the scientists then just took these embryonic cells, took these stem cells, and had them now in a dish in a laboratory? And then the scientists then knew how to make those cells specialise into, here we've got cells of the intestine, or red blood cells, or white blood cells, or neurons, which is another word for a nerve cell, or liver cells, or heart muscle cells. They could then use those cells to treat a patient with a particular condition. So if this patient had something wrong with their liver, they could then put these new liver cells into the patient if they had something wrong with their nerve cells or their neurons, maybe in their brain. Could they take these and fix the patient? Now, some people think this process is wrong. They think it's wrong to use cells from an embryo to treat a patient. So have a little think about that. Right? So some people do not agree with stem cell technology. It often uses stem cells from embryos that have been frozen for IVF but not used. Now, IVF stands for in vitro fertilization. It's a fancy term. And it's used by people who want to have children, they want to have a baby, but it's not working. So the scientists then, or the doctors, can take the sperm out of the man, take the eggs out of the woman, and they can make the sperm and the egg join together in a laboratory, in a lab. And then that fertilized egg will start to grow into an embryo. And in IVF, what they would do is put the embryo back into the female's body and hope that it will join onto the wall of the uterus and it will grow into a baby. But sometimes they don't use all the embryos. They have embryos left over. And that's what this means. It uses stem cells from embryos that have been frozen for IVF but not used. So the man and the woman have given their sperm and their eggs, and they've been made to join together, and they've made embryos, and the scientists have kept those embryos in a freezer. And they've maybe used some of them, and the man and the woman have maybe had a couple of children, but they don't want any more. Okay, so the scientists have got these embryos still left in the freezer. Some people believe that if they use those embryos to get stem cells from, then it's like murder, because the embryo had the potential to develop into a human being. So at this point here, when they take these these stem cells from this embryo, that embryo is now going to die. There's no way that embryo can grow into a baby anymore. So some people think that doing that is murder. Okay, what do you think? Do you think that it is okay to use embryo tissue, to use embryo cells, to use stem cells from an embryo to help people who are sick or disabled? It's your opinion. You cannot be right or wrong with this. You just write down what you think. Oops. Right, so this is link number 3. So again, it will be on the document that will have all the links on it. And that's us got to the end. So we have looked at where stem cells can be found. We've looked at 3 features of stem cells. We know the function of stem cells. We know at least 3 examples of specialized cells and how their structure suits their function. And we know what this term hierarchy of cells means. Look back at the notes you've just made. Have you got all this information? You should have. Okay, well done, guys. Bye.